This is Matt and Shaun presents Up for Debate, recorded September 30th, 2021. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Fast and Furious episode of Up for Debate, the podcast that loves any kind of cyber-engineered virus. I'm Shaun Jennings, joined, as always, by our own Hugh Janus. It is Matt Mariani. Hello, Matt.
Hey, how's it going, Shaun? Ready to talk about this new buddy cop movie that we discovered, called Hobbs Shaw.
I'm Matt. I've been saying this all along that I'm on the fence about the Fast and Furious franchise and whether or not I like it. But this is such a departure from the franchise that I said, okay, it's going to be an interesting film, and I got to say I have some interesting opinions. I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh yeah, this is I wanted to call it a departure from the series, but it's kind of names itself that, because it says it's kind of like what exactly what the new Star Wars movies are doing, where they're it's like Star Wars Presents, or where they're like mini adventures or riffs on the Star Wars
Rogue
adventures, like Han Solo, a Star Wars story. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. This is Hobbs and Shaw, a Fast and Furious adjacent story that we'll be talking about on our show today. Yeah,
it's going to be a good one. A valuable spinoff with two of your most beloved characters. Matt, is there anywhere in particular you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I guess we should maybe just kind of sequence it like we've been doing in the past, just kind of unpacking it and moving along that way. Only, I think this time, Shaun, I might let you take the reins on it, and for a reason that I may explain a bit later, as I pull up my notes. Maybe you want to start us off. That's
totally fine, Matt.
Where did we go?
I will take us through the plot, because I'm going to just take a wild guess and say you fell asleep in the middle of it and missed some of it.
It was only during one of the major action sequences, and it was perfectly timed because action sequence happened. I woke up, and all of a sudden we were in Samoa, and I had no clue where because the setting change was so dramatic. They went from like being in Chernobyl to in a snowy government facility and lab to just being on like this beautiful island. And the only reason I knew it was Samoa was, I think, because because Hobbs kept mentioning it was Samoa over and over again, and talking about his family in Samoa. And there was also that whole convenient part in the beginning when they were at the diner, when Hobbs and his daughter was talking about the social studies assignment that she received to make their family tree.
Setting that up perfectly.
So you knew it was going to come back. So then I was like, okay, this is Samoa. That's what they're doing. So yeah, how do we start this one off? First of all, Hobbs and Shaw, 2019 buddy action comedy film.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of comedy in this one. I give credit where credit's due. It was heavy doses of action and quips, and we got it all. The movie begins in London. A young female whose identity we don't yet know and her team of MI6 agents attempt to retrieve a programmable supervirus dubbed Snowflake from the techno-terrorist organization Aton. I know that already sounds confusing, but stay with me here. Brixton Lore, played by Idris Elba, an Aton operative with cybernetic implants, arrives and kills all the agents except for the unknown female individual, who injects the only dose of Snowflake into herself before escaping. She is framed for killing her team and stealing it, forcing her to go on the run.
Yeah, so that's where we start off. And right from the beginning, any elements of Fast and Furious are kind of like, I don't even think there's a big car actiony sequence. I mean, she tries to drive the truck, right? And then the truck flips over onto its side. But other than that, was there a big driving action set piece in the beginning of this movie?
I would argue the movie doesn't get Fast and Furious until we get to the Hobbs family custom shop, once again proving my theory that in order to be included in the Fast and Furious universe, you have to be all of a hacker, invincible to death, generally invincible to any kind of injury or damage, not only be able to drive very fast cars, but also work on them and build them. And if you can do that, you too can be in Fast and Furious. So it was just funny to me, like, of all the things the Hobbs family could be doing for a living, it's making custom cars.
Yeah, that's.
So we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, obvious, and of course there's that joke where I think Hobbs is like, you're compensating for something, or when he's walking through he's looking at the cars, clearly compensating.
Oh yeah,
this movie's got a lot of the. If you were a fan, if you liked that 6th grade, 7th grade boy humor that has been riddled through this entire series, this movie has got a lot of that. It's got a lot of those. I mean, our code names are definitely indicative of that. So,
absolutely. No, the one-liners, the quotes, IMDb quotes page for this movie is just pure gold from, I'm what you'd call an ice-cold can of whoop-ass. All those, like, old wrestling lines. There's a great line, actually, I think it's in the beginning of the movie where, who we later learn is Hattie Shaw, says to Idris Elba, says, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "Bad guy." And I'm like, it's just those little, like, funny movie things where I'm like, this movie is legitimately funny.
I kind of appreciated that line. I thought Idris Elba did a great job as a whole, as he always does. I mean, he never really. He's so good. He ever really hits a bad note. I mean,
that's the same theory I had with Charlize Theron. I said that about the early Fast and Furious movies, is these movies get better when you bring in really good actors to be the villains. Like, the first set of movies, the villains are like generic drug dealer guys. And it's only when they bring in, like, or when Jason Statham's the villain, where you're like, oh my god, these are, like, really good guys to play off of in all of these scenes. And Idris Elba is insane in this. He's so good.
Yes, great supervillain. The plan seemed to be a lot like... it was very similar in a lot of ways to the previous villain, to Charlize Theron's, but with a super virus instead of computer hacking and nuclear weapons. It was just, I'm going to infect everybody with this super virus, and definitely hits differently now in 2021, but than it probably did when it was put out in theaters in 2019. The next scene, I think, is... So, Helen Mirren's in jail, right? Is that what happens next? She's been arrested?
I think right before that is where we see Hobbs and Shaw on side-by-sides go kick a bunch of ass to introduce the movie.
I really like that. I really like that scene.
It's good. They're so good at hand-to-hand
cinematography. It was not only good... a good theoretical idea, right? Like showing the two going about their day side by side, the two stars of the film. But I like the lighting. There's just subtle things like the lighting effects. Like you used Hobbs had much more warm tones. Shaw had much more cool tones to show the. Definitely to show to riff on the differences, riff on the opposites, the polarization of the two characters as different. And I suspect it's because, in a way, Hobbs was in Los Angeles and Shaw being in London, reflecting the different, like, temperature zones. Warmth with the bright sunny Los Angeles and the cool rainy streets of London, but maybe also perhaps their personalities. Right, like Hobbs is much more of like a firebrand, kind of loose cannon, and Shaw is like more of a, I guess he's kind of more of the subtle rogue kind of angle. I just wish that, one of my pet peeves with Shaw's character as a whole is that I thought maybe he should have been more subtle. He comes across as just another version of Hobbs, like a British Hobbs, but he's more, I mean, more methodical, I guess. It's kind of like a fox.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the movie does such a good job of showing it, and I'll do a shout out to the director of this film, David Leitch, who this is his first Fast and Furious movie, but previously he co-directed John Wick. He directed Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, and he just directed Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. So his movies are very good. He's clearly an outstanding director who I think brought a lot to the franchise in this movie. I think it was very well directed. After we get their little side-by-side fight, yes, Matt, that's when we continue to expand the universe a little bit. We have a scene with each of them where Shaw goes and talks to his mother, played by Helen Mirren, in prison, in I'm sure what was a one-day shoot. A quick cameo for her behind bars, which was a nice scene.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of an in-and-out session. This is where it's teased, I guess, that Shaw has a sister. She's not mentioned before this in the series, correct? It's just really his brother Deckard.
She was in the previous movie.
She was? She was?
She was an 8, remember? Yeah, they had the whole scene where
I don't remember this at all.
where Vin met with her. Did you sleep through this part of the movie?
There's a very good chance that I did, yeah.
Okay.
Was this in the ice part? I have a tendency to sleep during, I guess, action scenes that happen in the snow or the ice, because
no, it was before that.
I fell asleep in that movie too.
You know the part of the movie where Vin is like, he pretends his car breaks down and he's working on it, and like there's a van blocking the camera, and it was all part of the scheme. What he's doing while the van is blocking it, is that he went and met with Helen Mirren in order to get Helen Mirren's 2 sons to then go on the plane and get his son back.
Right. I remember that. I knew that. Oh, okay. No, I knew Helen Mirren was in the movie. I was talking about the sister. She's never been in a previous movie.
No.
That's what I was talking about. Yes. No, I knew that the mom, the mother had been in a previous movie. Yeah. Okay. No,
although I should have made up. I should have made up. I guess
that was just I Englished a little bit too much there. The sister of Shaw has never been in a previous movie. This is just kind of her first time being mentioned. Hattie Shaw.
That's right.
And they
nice with Helen Mirren.
It's revealed that the schemes they come up with when they were kids, they name them after popular British rock stars. Right?
Yeah, very odd. Very odd. Not quite sure
you have the Keith Moon.
The thread on that.
The Keith
that is
Moon
correct.
is
the Mick Jagger.
Is loud and percussive because he was a drummer. The Mick Jagger is when you. I thought that was kind of genius in a way. Is they said everybody focuses on one person because they're like the showy one, when the other one is doing all the work. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, a good take on it.
Which, by the way, not a particularly revolutionary idea. Of like, I'll cause a distraction to distract the people.
No.
Like, I can't really give them credit for like inventing that.
No, but they wanted to jazz it up and give it a cool British 70s, 80s name to it. So the Mick Jagger is. And
that's where most people fail.
One? Those are the only 2 I remember. Keith Moon and the Mick Jagger.
I believe those, as far as I remember, yes, those are the only 2.
Kind of wanted them to keep going with that. At least have like one more. Thought like 3 would have been well rounded. But we're tasked with. We're now beginning to be tasked with what this movie is about, which is finding. The first act is now finding Hattie Shaw, who has survived this attack from Etienne. and she is now on her own, and everybody's looking for her, including MI6, who think that she is responsible for the attack.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. One other quick thing I'll mention before we get to Hobbs and Shaw actually connecting is we do have the scene in the diner with Hobbs and his daughter where they talk about the family tree project. She's getting A's on all her homework. Good for her. And we're introduced to a new character in the franchise whose name is...
Locke.
Locke, who is played by Ryan Reynolds.
I think this is because I was reading somewhere that the somebody on the directing team came out of Deadpool.
Well, yeah, the director directed Deadpool too.
Yeah, the director, right? David Leitch. Yeah, so he directed Deadpool 2. So I wonder if I mean, there's the connection, basically. Otherwise, I mean, obviously, also because this is a comedy movie, Ryan Reynolds is traditionally a comedy actor. He's there. I didn't like him in this movie. Ryan Reynolds hits, he's very hit or miss with me, and usually I don't like him in stuff. I really, really, really liked him in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be one of my sleeper favorite movies of all time. But in a lot of other stuff, he just doesn't. I don't like his humor. I don't like him in the stuff. I am very averse to Ryan Reynolds in general. It's just a personal thing with me. Nothing against him as an actor. I'm sure there are a lot of Ryan Reynolds fans out there that I've now completely alienated from our show.
You just think he sucks. That's fine.
I don't like him. I just don't like him. It's a personal preference. Personal thing.
That's okay.
He irks me. He irks me in a lot of ways. What also irks me, Shaun, is that this character was named Locke. Do you have any idea how many Hobbs and Locke jokes there are out there now? They're kind of tired. Lost did it. We liked it when Lost did it. But it didn't need to happen again. That's kind of there's the odd thing about this movie is that it tries to squeeze in a lot of smart jokes, like smarter people jokes, that I don't think that's quite the audience. I guess maybe he quotes Nisha at one point in the movie. Hobbs does. It's just like, who is that for? The dumb meatheads that watch this movie, that they're gonna like that joke. But I mean, maybe it's not all. I mean, we watched this movie, and I may be dumb, but I'm not a meathead. So,
I mean, I always thought of you as a meathead.
Maybe I'm a meathead, but not dumb. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people that are watching the movie know who Nisha is. I'm just not giving them enough credit. But I didn't like that his name was Locke. It was just very much on the nose. It's like, oh, we get it, Hobbs and Locke. That's great. That's funny. Haha. I don't know. I could have done without him in the scene. They could have gotten that generic, boring white guy, Mr. Nobody's best little assistant. He could have been the stand-in, and it didn't need to be Ryan Reynolds, I thought.
Well, I will say, though, I did think the generic white guy who brought Shaw into it was good, too.
I liked him.
They were cool.
I enjoyed him.
And are we going to get the Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw presents those two guys in a movie? I would watch that.
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds and the other guy.
Sure. I would watch it. I would watch it. I like that guy. I like the other guy that brought Shaw in. He was cool. I liked his joke about where they said, what do baseball bats and CIA agents have in common? He said what do baseballs and CIA agents have in common? And he said it's that people cheer when you hit them
with a bat.
And he was like, no, I don't give a shit about either.
No, I don't give a toss about either.
I don't give a toss about either. He was very British about it. Yeah,
which I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was good. The lines were so good in this. And it's crazy because the same guy who wrote this writes the Fast and Furious movies. And I'm like, those need to be funnier.
This was certainly a lot of comedy in this one. And they also didn't skimp on comedic actors, right? Like when they brought Ryan Reynolds in, but they also brought Kevin Hart in. So they were trotting out the comedy actors on here. I thought Kevin Hart's scene was kind of funny. Little chuckle there.
Yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds' cameo was better, but again, it's like this movie. Everyone talks about the Fast and Furious movies like, oh, they're so over the top, they're so big and crazy, and I'm like, they're not. This movie's big and over the top and crazy, where they're just blowing shit up and having action and kicking ass, and there's like big, like legit movie stars who just show up for no reason. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's over the top, and it's definitely, they don't skimp on the comedy here. We also get the revelation through the girl's homework, the daughter's homework. We get the revelation of a couple things. Number one, Hobbs does not know that his daughter watched Game of Thrones at a friend's house, and she is not allowed to go over there again. Number two, we get the surprise revelation that Hobbs has a brother, and they don't speak. They're not on speaking terms. He also lives in Samoa, which I assume was where The Rock is from. Am I correct about thinking that? Is that where Dwayne Johnson hails from? That part of the world, for sure.
I think the only thing I don't know, and I'm actually going to look it up right now while we're talking, is he is like ethnically Samoan. I don't think he actually was like born there.
No, he was born in California.
Right.
But
yes.
His family is a melange of things, actually.
Yes, and he's from a long history of professional wrestlers from Samoa.
He has quite a repertoire. The Samoan is on his mother's side.
Yes.
And yes, professional wrestler.
He's cousins
very
with,
interesting.
Do you know the Roman Reigns is probably one of his more famous big WWE star? They're cousins, I believe, and he's in this movie.
He is. I believe he plays his brother, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which was cool. Yeah, so obviously that's going to be important later on. Because we get the information up front. We weren't going to get it otherwise, so we know that there's going to be something involving the brother.
Yep.
That's Chekhov's can of Nas for this movie. And we also know that maybe we'll get to see Samoa at some point. So that's what we learned from the diner scene. Also, The Rock loves pancakes on his cheat day. That's what Hobbs likes to eat on his cheat day, is just a giant, massive, comically large stack of pancakes. Shaun, do you think you could eat that many pancakes in one sitting?
Well, it's a good question. You see, The Rock is 6'5" and 260 pounds. If I were that big, I think I could. In my current shape, no, I don't think I could. No.
What was shocking to me was not the size of the pancake tower, it was the lack of syrup. I didn't see any syrup, or maybe
dry
there was maybe small syrup. That would be a dry stack. I'm confident if I had the syrup and I had the accessibility, I don't think I could finish that whole stack. I don't even know if I could make a solid dent in it. I know for sure without syrup that ain't happening. It's
absolutely not. You're gonna choke. Frankly, it's unsafe.
It is. It is unsafe. Anything else from the diner scene that we garnered here?
No, I think it was a good. I mean, the movie had a lot of good bits. What are you going to do? No, the guys get back together. They return to Luke goes to London, where Deckard already is, and they meet at the CIA black site. They have a back and forth. I ain't working with you. And the whole, antagonistic relationship. They threaten to kill each other a bunch, and then they split off. Deckard goes to Hattie's apartment, still not realizing it's his sister at this point, where he's attacked by Aton operatives, And Hobbs finds Hattie, and they fight, and then he brings her to the CIA office where Deckard arrives and informs that, hey, that's my sister. That's my sister you got there. Lay your hands off my sister. I've been working on my my impression. But at that point, the office is attacked, and Hattie is taken by Brixton, where they run down the side of the building. And again, in a movie where people just can't die, The Rock literally just like jumps out a window and falls a whole bunch and falls on top of people and somehow survives.
Yeah, that was our. This movie seemed like it couldn't handle. I mean, many movies of the series have the same style, but it couldn't handle not having an action scene in almost every scene. As a matter, I was shocked that we didn't get like agents breaking into the diner and like smashing the windows down, and like the Hobbs had to like fight them to get his daughter out. It just seemed like every scene almost required or mandated action to happen. So we get the scene of the headquarters. Of course, we get the confrontation initially of the two of them. I enjoyed that. I liked when they were yelling at the investigator people. I also liked the interesting the inductive reasoning that Hattie uses, where she automatically knows that he's CIA and that he's not going to kill her, just based on like who he is. She's like, you're not subtle. When we fought before, you didn't try to kill me. You're not carrying a clipboard, and you don't look like a dork, so you're probably not an analyst. So that was funny. Anything else from the scene that you liked?
No, just good quippy dialogue. They're yelling at each other, threatening to kill each other, and then they're the two kind of nerdy guys on the other side of the glass, and one guy goes, I ain't going in there, and the other guys go, I ain't going in there. It's a lot of funny jokes like that there. Brixton frames all three as traitors. They get into a McLaren and drive around London in a big action chase scene. They crash through a bunch of stuff. Brixton crashes through a double-decker bus. I don't know if you had any thought. I don't think this was the best action scene of the movie, but it was very solid.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed this one. It was, and it's kind of interesting because we mentioned before that we didn't like one of the chase scenes through the streets of London. This one, I think a lot of it was the lighting. This one took place during the day, and it's just better. You could see more. Things were clearer. I like this one much better than the one that we saw in the previous film.
This movie, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, there were some hand-to-hand scenes, which I love. I love that. Action movie tropes are always so funny to me. But Shaw in his sister's apartment doing that action movie thing where an apartment is only lit by an annoyingly large neon sign outside, which is such like a movie trope. But for the most part, all the action in the movie is daytime action.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And the CGI is really good in this, especially compared to some of the other movies.
Yeah, it's highly, I would say even better than passable. I'd say it was good. It was downright
because there
good.
was some. I mean, you could tell a lot of the Idris Elba motorcycle work obviously was CGI, but it didn't look too cartoony. A little bit, but not too much. And you kind of buy it because he's the I'm Black Superman. I can't do an Idris Elba, but yeah.
Yeah. Idris Elba, by the way, he was one of, this is an interesting fact, or not so interesting, this is just a fact that I have about Idris Elba, is that he was one of the first stars, I think it was him and Tom Hanks, that when the pandemic was first starting out, he was one of the first people that I heard about had contracted COVID. And at the time, people didn't know much about it. It was very scary. And I remember it was him and Tom Hanks that both had COVID. It was like, oh no, oh my God. Like, they're two of my favorite actors for sure. They're up there. I think Idris Elba's great and everything. And yeah, I remember he put like a video out with him and like when he had COVID, and it was just one of those things.
Good man.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, our three characters have to figure out what they're going to do. They track down the professor who created Snowflake, and
Professor Andreyko.
That's right. Fun little dorky guy. And they find out that they either have to kill Hattie and burn her to destroy the virus, or they have to remove it with a specialized extraction device, which is located in Aton's facility in Chernobyl. They go back and forth, decide what they're going to do, and they decide to pull the Keith Moon or the Mick Jagger. I mix them up. The Mick Jagger.
They're going to pull the Mick Jagger. The Keith Moon is just referenced as something that they did.
As a hypothetical.
Something they did in their childhood. That was one of their things, and it was just to be funny in the moment. But the Mick Jagger is the name of their current scheme, or at least the style that they're employing on the current scheme.
Yep, they they go to Shaw's underground compound to get fake aliases. They get on a plane. We have some comedy on there. The Mike Oxmall bit where The Rock is detained at the airport. They go back and forth on the airplane. We meet Kevin Hart, who is an air marshal, who gets in some funny lines. Any thoughts on any of this?
I thought he was funny. I liked Kevin Hart in this one. I usually like Kevin Hart in the things that he's in, and I like the part where he's like changing his voice. And although then I realized that Guardians of the Galaxy did almost the exact same joke, so I wonder if that wasn't just cribbed from Guardians, since this movie did have a lot of Marvel in it. I mean, essentially, Idris Elba's character was like a Marvel supervillain, right? He had like a power suit. He could read everybody. I thought it was interesting that his power suit was based on probability. It was like, here's the probability that they're going to do this, so I'm going to do this to counter it.
Which, by the way, was a tool he sometimes used. Like, sometimes when he was fighting them, he'd be like, I know exactly what you're going to do, and he'd kick their ass, and then sometimes he just, like, wouldn't use it, and he would get his ass kicked.
Yes.
Very confusing.
That wasn't, maybe it just said, maybe the batteries had to charge. Yeah, he had to plug it in, and it had to charge. Also, there was one part where the movie where they zip up his spine.
Yeah.
that was
very
pretty cool. So, yeah, he's, we could talk about the nature of his supervillain company, his entity, Etion. Are they a social media company or are they a biotech company? Because I'm confused. Because
they're none of the above.
Kind of a lot of both, right?
As far as I understand it, they're not really a company at all. They are a black site, dark money, intelligence. It's not like you can go buy Aton products at the store. Like, it's not a company in that respect. I think it's literally just like a research and development type of thing. Like, it's like normal people shouldn't know Aton exists. Like, it's that kind of thing. Okay. I believe. But what they've done is they've used all their dark money to do the technology and get control of the media and blah, 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 and have the robot boss.
They contracted with the government or something?
I don't think so. No, I think they're their own thing. I think it's like I think it's a research and development operation to look at future-facing technologies, mainly around weapons and biotechnologies, is how I understand it.
So, like, do they pay taxes on?
No, they're off the grid, man.
Off the grid. Okay,
I totally don't think it's legit.
Got it. So when Amazon delivers the like supplies that they need, they have their own supply chain. Maybe they don't use Amazon. They have their own procurement and logistics divisions. Okay.
I believe so. Yes, very dark. A very dark organization.
Very much okay. Very dark web, but
I love I got to
Chernobyl.
Again, action movie tropes. Love the robot voice bad guy. Love it. Love it. You're setting up multiple sequels. There's no actor. It's a faceless voice. Such a good villain idea.
Could be anyone.
I think it's great. And that's what they set up at the end of the movie, where he kind of calls into the helicopter and he says it's not over. And you need Idris Elba anymore, because he just keeps going. I think I'm such a fan of that.
Could be anyone. It could even be Vin Diesel.
Yes! 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 Cypher actually did convince him to go bad.
They don't have the balls. They won't do it, but it would be cool. I would absolutely support that decision.
Let me ask you a question, Matt. So obviously the movies now and the sort of later movies are bringing in big name actors to play some of these roles. Who do you think should be head of Aton? What actor do you think they should cast to be the robot voice, sort of indescript, no-name leader of the organization?
Well, I have a feeling. I think I could guess. If I were a betting man, I think they might bring Charlize Theron back, and she would be the one that's behind all of it. That's something I could see. This because it's a safe choice.
Maybe
it's a safe choice, and they've worked with her before, and a lot of reasons to do it. But who do I want them to bring in?
What do you think about Harrison Ford?
Oh, Harrison Ford. Okay.
We could
much better.
Two more different people. That's a complete end of the spectrum. Harrison Ford and Harry Styles. Oh my god. Where's their Hobbs Shaw movie?
Oh my. Shaun, I would line up to see that one.
Incredible.
I would pay almost anything that HBO Max wanted me to pay for that premium. I would shell it out. I want to see that. Please, Harrison Ford, Harry Styles. Oh, that would be good. No, I really don't know. I guess Harrison Ford would be kind of fun to have in this because he would be just so disinterested, like how Harrison Ford is for every movie he's in.
Just be angry.
And just disengaged and grumpy. But
you know who I legitimately think would be good? And
Who's
hear
that?
me out. Bradley Cooper. I think he plays like a smug bad guy who wants to pretends to be nice and oh no, I'm just doing it for the right reasons. Everyone likes what I'm doing, but really he's secretly conniving.
Well, I was actually thinking maybe Ryan Reynolds was some kind of double agent.
Oh, yes.
And he's actually behind it all, but I don't know if he'll do that. In the sequel, I'd like to see. I like Bradley Cooper a lot too. I think he's also a phenomenal actor. So he could totally surprise us here and deliver that villainous role. Could also maybe be Kurt Russell. Maybe he, as Mr. Nobody, is playing both sides.
That would be great. I do love me some Kurt Russell.
I don't know if the series is brave enough for that though, but we'll see.
Or you know what? Who? Oh my God! This is the last name I'll pitch, but who's the? Oh man, why can't I think of his name? From the dude.
You're thinking of Matt LeBlanc.
From Tron and from he's the bad guy in Iron Man.
You're thinking of the dude. Okay, you are thinking of Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yes,
Jeff Bridges,
I love me some Jeff Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. And his name too. By the way, very good in Iron Man 1. I like him in the first Iron Man. It's a shame they killed him off.
I don't know if I would buy the cadence, though. He has a very specific cadence of how he, speaks, and yeah, man, and I don't know if... I just don't know if the jumbled, garbled up voice would... I think we would be able to hear his cadence through that, even though it's distorted. And same thing with Matthew McConaughey. I thought he would be cool too as a choice.
Yeah.
But I think we would be able to pick it up. How about Charlie Day from Always Sunny?
I think he should be in these movies for sure.
Yeah.
What about Danny DeVito?
No. No, I don't think he should be blind at all. No.
That would be
again,
very funny.
I wouldn't mind if he was in these movies. It would be great. Just bring the whole Sonny cast.
Just bring him in, man. All right. So we briefly meet Deckard's former flame, Margarita, in Moscow. They get a bunch of equipment, and they go to infiltrate the facility. We get a ton of action. Boom, boom, boom. Stuff's exploding. Cars, a hydrogen bomb. They blow up Chernobyl. Enrico is killed. The device to extract Snowflake from Hetty's veins is damaged. But the gang escapes, and Idris Elba lives. Now, Matt, I will tell you, when I was watching this movie, I was chugging along, got to this scene, it ended, like, literally right before we show Idris Elba lives. Like, it looks like he's about to die, and I'm like, I don't know if I love the ending of this movie, but this is a pretty good ending to the movie. And then he lived, and I paused it, and there was still an hour left. And I'm like,
yes.
No joke, I don't need anything after this. Like, that should have been the big ending set piece to the movie. It almost really frustrated me when they're like, what are we going to do now? And then it says, Samoa in big letters. I'm like, no, this is too much movie. This could have been 2 movies. I don't need Hobbs' family. You just had a really great big action sequence. Just end it. And it would have been an hour and a half movie.
I feel like they pulled an Adam Sandler here where, maybe The Rock he was just well, you want to go to Samoa? Let's go to Samoa. You can meet my family, and I'll have everybody in a big barbecue. And we'll hang out in Samoa on the movie's dime. I really feel like that's what happened here. I think it was just an Adam Sandler. You know how he just makes movies to go on vacation and hang out with friends in exotic locations? Yeah, I think that's what he pulled here.
I think he's made 3 movies where, no joke, the plot is Adam Sandler's character goes on vacation. And, that's the plot of the movie. So, no, you're not wrong.
And they're all the exact same movie, just with different actresses playing the woman role. And different actors playing the kids, and his friends are all the same. He's the same guy.
Whoa, David Spade is in this movie?
Yeah, we'll go to Hawaii, or we'll go to South Africa, or we'll go wherever he wants to go in that movie. Thailand, I don't know.
Wow, I can't believe Chris Rock is in this Adam Sandler movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you, and that's just the only point I'm going to make. That there was a lot I liked about this movie, but it was too long, like all these movies are. It was an 2:15, and I was like, if it had ended with the Chernobyl sequence and Idris Elba gets blown up and they get the machine and they're like, "Woo, we did it! We saved the world!" I would have been a very happy man.
Yeah, the Samoa part nobody needed, but it also brought in the family element, which I guess we had with Shaw because his mom is there and his sister, but we didn't see how Hobbs' family. So we had to bring in the family because this is what family's family. This is the movie that we're watching, the franchise we're watching.
I needed less family.
Diesel is not there.
Now, Matt, I'll add some connective tissue from how we got from A to B since you didn't see it. But basically, they need somebody to repair the damaged machine. Now, of course, I'm sure there's a lot of great bioengineers out there, a lot of great mechanical engineers out there. But Hobbs says, I got a guy. And that guy is his estranged brother in Samoa who fixes cars and I guess also incredibly high-tech blood extractor machines. So they head out to his childhood home in Samoa. There's an awkward moment. He gets punched in the face by his brother. We meet his mother and the rest of the family. And there's some quips there. And basically they say, you got to help us save the world. They say, I guess we will. We see the Hobbs Customs, their legitimate car shop they now have, making vehicles for people all over the world. And they begin work not only on fixing the machine, but also fortifying the area around it for when Idris Elba and team eventually come to take Snowflake back.
Yes, this movie becomes a castle defense movie. Yes. They fortify the fields. They do the Last Samurai training It's mainly like building stuff, and everybody's working real hard, and it shows how hard they're working. And then Hobbs and Hattie, Hobbs and Hattie kiss at one point because we knew that was going to happen. The movie basically demanded it. Then they all get ready for the big fight, because Etienne is coming. The big government is coming to shut down the rec center, and we gotta get ready, and we gotta paint it and make it look nice for one last big
our big sale to save
show. Yeah, that's what they do. So.
Well, and then, of course, they have to do that thing where, what? There are no guns here? That's crazy! And so they have to be all Samoan and get their traditional hand-to-hand combat weapons, and they disable the guns on the bad guys so they can just kick a bunch of ass.
Yeah, how did that work exactly? How did they pull that off? It was like a...
Yeah, they had... So Hattie had stolen the special glove that you needed to use the guns, and they plugged the glove into a computer, and I guess since literally everyone in this movie is a hacker, Hattie was able to reverse engineer it to disable the guns for a while, because they were smart guns, because they're high-tech people.
So, but couldn't she have reprogrammed the guns to only work for them, so they could use the guns?
I guess not. Again, it was that bullshit of like, you can only disable it for 6 minutes. And I'm like, that's such an arbitrary amount of time. Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of, like, I got kind of tired. Maybe that's why I fell asleep. Because my suspension of disbelief, I had to lift that suspension of disbelief for so long. For a lot of the things that happen in this movie. It might have been what put me out. Put me under.
Yeah, they ask you to make a lot of leaps in the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. But we get another Haka, which is cool. I didn't think we were going to see that again. We get another one. This one is not a soccer team of little girls. This is real Samoan people.
Which is nice. I think it's good to celebrate the culture, and more power to them. I'm sure they got some big tax break for shooting there.
I don't think they actually shot in Samoa, shows up.
What?
I think that on a surprise twist, I think they actually shot those scenes in Hawaii.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I did research ahead of time. I don't know why. I could find no explanation for why they did that. Because usually when they don't do it, it's because of geopolitical reasons. But filming in Samoa, I would think, would be fine, just like filming in Hawaii. But I guess not.
Wild. Absolutely wild. My mind is blown.
On Kauai. I just don't know. I don't know why... And especially with the emphasis on Samoa, like going back to Samoa and The Rock being home, why not just actually film it in Samoa? I just don't. I don't know why, and I can't find an explanation for it anywhere. Maybe it was just cheaper. Maybe that's just it. Maybe Hawaii, but Hawaii is not cheap. I would think Samoa would be cheaper. Who knows? I don't know. I can't explain it.
And at this point, they battle. Stuff explodes. They light some stuff on fire. There's a helicopter that flies around. It drags a bunch of cars around. I don't know. Any thoughts on this general? I thought it was a fine action sequence. Nothing I hadn't seen before. I think the cars with the NOS driving into each other and connecting to each other to hold down the helicopter was... what's the word I'm looking for? Stupid. But, it's a Fast and Furious Presents movie, so what do you expect?
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. Not the stupidest thing in the movie. There was a lot of, I don't know. We could do like a whole ranking of that, which would be kind of fun. But, yeah, that was quite a fight scene, very dramatic. The rain and everything, they make that super dramatic action scene. And we get kind of like the vibe of the whole family is the community. Community is the family, right?
Something like that.
I think that's what they were going for.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did just learn this from Wikipedia. The Aton director, the robot voice, is played by Reynolds in the film under a pseudonym. I don't think they're intending to imply it, but it was originally supposed to be Keanu Reeves, which is great.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That would have been good.
Think of him, but yes, that would have been my real pick for sure.
Anyhow,
that's good. Mm-hmm.
Big action sequence. At the end, the helicopter crashes. The car crashed. Nobody's hurt, unsurprisingly. The extraction of Snowflake out of Hattie is just about wrapped up. Well, Hobbs and Shaw learn they have to work together to defeat Idris Elba. They eventually do. They kick his ass pretty good. The director of Aton remotely deactivates Idris Elba, killing him and tossing him into the ocean to maybe be never seen again, ? At that point, the director talks directly to Hobbs and Shaw, claiming to know Hobbs and having interacted with him in the past. Sequel? ? And that is it. The group celebrates their victory and moves on with their lives. That's the end of the fight. And we have some post-credit scenes, but that's kind of how the movie ends.
Yeah, and the post-credit scenes, I guess, are mostly, typical setup for the next time. We get one of them that's a joke. And we get a potential sequel in that Locke calls Hobbs and says that they found another virus,
that's even worse.
Virus.
The other one liquefied the inside of your body, but this one liquefies the outside of your body. Hobbs also brings his daughter to meet the family in Samoa. Deckard and Hattie visit their mother and imply they're going to bust her out of prison. And then it ends with a joke where Hobbs sends the London police to arrest Deckard, and he told the police his name was Hugh Janus. So, very funny stuff.
Indeed, and that's where we're through Hobbs and Shaw. Sean, what did you think of this movie overall?
Matt, I was a big fan of this movie. The people agreed. $174 million in the U.S. And $760 million around the world. It was a big success all the way around 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. And Dwayne Johnson won the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards for Favorite Movie Actor for this film. Matt, I genuinely thought this was a great movie overall. Barely a Fast and Furious movie. I just think I like Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham a lot. And I just like, I think, not to make a bigger point about this, but I think back to the era of the 80s action movie, your Rambos and your Predators, and back when they were, your anything with Jean-Claude Van Damme type stuff. And I'm like, I think this is what's sort of bringing it back, is the action film that's got some humor, but it's also got really charismatic actors shooting out a lot of one-liners. And when I think about the rest of the Fast and Furious films with the family and Vin and all these other characters, I don't know what they're really going for anymore. You know what I mean? They become very flat movies compared to something. I wish the Fast and the Furious movies were more like this one, leaning into the comedy, leaning into the heightened aspects of it. That's why I think when we talked about which of these movies we kind of like more than others. I think Fast 5 is a good example with the heist and all that. I think does lean more into that and brings in people like Gal Gadot and the gentleman from Tokyo Drift, whose name I can't think of at the moment, Han, and some of these guys who bring levity to it that by the time you get to 7 and 8, they're gone and you're just left with a lot of Vin Diesel, who I like, but isn't making the movies what I want them to be. So overall, I am a massive fan. I took not a single note because I just watched the whole movie. I loved it. What did you think?
I thought it was just okay. I don't know if I loved it as much as you. You definitely are much more enthusiastic about it. I just from a big. Okay, we'll start with the glows. We'll do the glows and then we'll do the grows. So, what glowed for me about this movie? I liked the smaller cast, the more narrow cast angle was refreshing. Because I felt like that was a problem, especially as the former movies in the franchise progressed. It became like everybody was kind of vying for screen time. It wasn't just Dom and like the other characters anymore. It was now like Dom and Roman and Brian and the slew of other people that had grown into this family, and it becomes really difficult, I think, when you have to write. I mean, just ask anybody who's made a Marvel movie, or just ask anybody who or an Avengers movie, I should say. Just ask Joss Whedon, who did make an Avengers movie, and who's made other movies too, where he has to just really constantly balance all of these. I got a message from Xbox Live, telling me the new things coming out next month. Anyway,
that's nice.
Just it's a lot of there's a lot of people to balance, a lot of things to keep track of. I thought that just narrowing it down to just a couple of people, really just Hobbs and Shaw and Hattie, really are the main people to focus on here. I like that because and anytime we get to see more of The Rock and more of Jason Statham, I think is a plus, because they're usually the ones I look forward to seeing the most in the other movies. I like when they're on screen the most. I think maximizes my happiness. The big problem that I had though with this movie is the lack of stakes. I thought that from the beginning, the premise is almost the main conflict of the movie is almost a joke in itself.
Yeah.
So I immediately had the sense of, well, why should I care about this? Why should I care about this at all? Because clearly our main characters don't. It becomes more of like looks like it's up to us to save the world again, and this virus is going to turn people's insides into goo. And it seems like the movie does this complete 180 from it being a complete joke and being something to be made fun of to all of a sudden they're in Samoa. Oh, you guys have to take this seriously. If you don't stop them, they're going to turn our insides into goo with this virus. And it's like, well, the whole movie, you didn't care, like, not that you didn't care about it because you went on the mission, but you made jokes, like it was a joke to you until now, all of a sudden, you're supposed to care about it. And I don't know, it didn't really hit for me. And the whole time it was just like, it was a vehicle for the jokes, which I get. And as a buddy comedy movie, I thought most of the jokes did work and they landed. But it was just that overall sense of feeling that the conflict was not really there or present.
Yeah, very common.
It's a shame. It's a shame because Idris Elba I thought it was a damn good villain, and I thought that if they had just the writing had been there, they could have treated the overall conflict more seriously.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree with you, and frankly, I think it's a problem with a lot of these Fast and Furious movies. Even with Cypher, and I guess with Dom's son, it was a little different, but in a lot of these movies, the motivation is never really there. The characters just do it because the movie needs them to. I think this movie could have done a lot more with, and maybe the sequel will, with Aton, and they just kept saying, we're about the future of mankind and the evolution of mankind, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what do you actually... Like you said, you couldn't define what Aton was. I'm like, I think they could have invested a little more. Because the plan wasn't about liquefying people. It was about killing off the weak. And I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? And how does that help you get to your goals? Like, a little more time spent on that, I think, could have helped the movie. So I do agree with you there. And I hope And they're planning on a sequel. I hope if Aton continues to be the villain in the sequel that they spend a little time really understanding. If it's like, oh, Aton has secretly been funding all this stuff around the world, and we've been working for years to, it's like I kind of want, almost Spectre-esque, right, from our James Bond watch. I kind of want a little bit more. I agree with you there. But,
yeah, it really did seem like they were just trying to make it a stand-in for Spectre. It was just like this secret underground villain organization that does villain stuff.
Yes.
But I feel like for this kind of a movie, we need a little bit more of an explanation.
Well, there was a great line where he said, right before they went to Samoa, he was like, "Gentlemen, we're heading off. This is where you earn your upgrades." And I was like, oh, so if you're a good soldier, you get cybernetic upgrades. Like, that's an interesting idea. Like, play on that. Like, how do they decide what are the upgrades? How do they decide who gets them? What does that mean for being a bad guy? Like, obviously, the movie isn't about Idris Elba. It's about Hobbs and Shaw. But it's a cool idea. I like the idea of Aton and what they're doing. Like, it is a cool villain idea, but you're right. They spent more time kicking ass and not a lot of time explaining it.
Yeah, just need to flesh it out a little bit more.
And maybe the sequel will. I mean, you don't set up a villain like this to not use them again, so I have a sneaking suspicion they may be a foil in upcoming films. Now, Matt, we have been rating these movies on a scale. I'd love to know your rating. I'm happy to go first. I do think I liked it more than you did. Mainly because I just think it was a good movie overall. If this had nothing to do with Fast and Furious, it was just a fun action movie that I thought was well made, well shot, well acted, well written. It was just fun. It was just fun to watch. I just like watching these guys having a blast. And so I'm going to do it out of vials of snowflake virus. I'm going to give it 8 vials of snowflake virus. We're going to rank all these movies at the end of, actually next week when we do the last one. This one is definitely probably top 3 for me, and could rank even higher. We'll see. What would you say?
Unfortunately, even though it is cheat day, I think that The Rock is going to go home a little bit hungry, because I'm only going to give this 5 comically large diner pancakes out of 10.
Okay, gotcha. You're excited next week to get back to Dom and the crew.
Yeah, you know what it was also is I didn't approach this the proper way, because I didn't take into account that it is a comedy movie. What I thought they were going for in the beginning was like the previous movie that movies have been, right? Like a thriller with comedy, like comedic elements. But this was just a straight up comedy with, I would argue, with a comedy with thriller elements more so. And also, I thought it would be more Fast and Furious. It really was just a Fast and Furious movie in name. It was a movie set in the Fast and Furious universe, but not really involving anything that had to do with the spirit of the franchise prior to the introduction of the character of Hobbs and Shaw. So,
total departure.
Yeah.
But I like that. I will say, whether you're a fan of the movie or not, I like the franchises taking opportunities to do different things, right? It was like when they pivoted to heist movies and then pivoted to spy movies. Like, I like their messing with it, playing with it. And it's incredible to me that when you're choosing a director for this movie, you bring in the guy who did Deadpool. This is a very Deadpool-esque movie in terms of the comedy with the action. And it shows. And agree or disagree, I appreciate the fact that they didn't just make another Fast and Furious movie. And I hope the next one, because they have talked about other spin-offs not involving Hobbs and Shaw. They've talked about doing an all-women spin-off as one of the ones they've talked about for a few years. I hope they use those as opportunities to play with the formula and create some unique action films that aren't just cookie-cutter Fast and Furious movies.
Do you think if they do the all-women cast, do you think that they're going to resurrect Dom's ex-girlfriend / baby?
Elena?
Mama? Elena?
Elena?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
They're bringing her back for that?
No, I don't think they will.
Because they could always... Well, all right, so here's the thing, though. If they don't have her, they can't do Gal Gadot's character because they killed her off inexplicably. Do they just set it maybe in an earlier time when they were both still alive?
No, you know who's going to anchor the movie is who's the biggest female star in the franchise.
Toretto's wife.
No. Michelle Rodriguez? No.
Yeah.
It's Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron she's not a hero though. She's the bad guy.
Doesn't matter. She's already signed to a star in the film. Now maybe as the villain, or maybe she turns and works with the heroes, but
I guess it's an all-female cast, but it's not going to be about her, right? She's just going to be the villain.
Potentially. I mean, it's still in the very early
development
drafts. Cycles. I would say, but if you could bring in, I love Michelle Rodriguez. I think she's great. I think who are the other women in the franchise?
Gal Gadot. You've got
well, she's dead. Alive, Mia,
right? Ryan's wife.
Yes. Jordana Brewster.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, by the way, I didn't give enough credit where credit's due. Vanessa Kirby as Hattie is very good in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was great, and I would love to see her included. And maybe Helen Mirren comes in.
Helen Mirren, of course.
So you might have something there.
Yeah, I mean that's
maybe
a
Hobbs'
bigger
mother.
Cast than Hobbs' mother in there too. Yeah,
kicking ass.
Okay, I see where this is going. Yeah, this could be cool. We've only got one of these left, huh?
I can't believe it.
And if we had done this series a year earlier, we would be done. This would be the last one.
Oh man, it's been a long summer, Matt, and I am.
We're almost in October. In a couple hours, it'll be October.
Yeah, and I'm told F9 is wild. So I am excited. Next week we'll be covering 2021's F9, the latest in the franchise. Justin Lin returns to direct. And boy, Matt, I'm telling you, we've got some old favorites are coming back from what I read. They go to space, I think. It's going to be a wild movie. I also think it's like 18 hours long. It's a very long movie. So something to look forward to next week, and then that's it.
That's it. It's all she wrote. Can't wait.
Right. Crazy.
To talk about it.
It's going to be a great one. You guys are going to want to come back. Make sure you check out our website, upfordebate.tv. We've got all the past movie episodes there, also in the feed. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Just search for Up for Debate and see the big purple icon. You'll know that's us. Of course, you can get a hold of us. Let us know your thoughts on the Fast and Furious. And if you think we're idiots, upfordebatetv@gmail.com or tweet at us at upfordebatetv. But that is going to wrap it up here. So on behalf of Hugh Janus, I'm Mike Oxmall. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time for more Fast and Furious action on another Up for Debate.